Hi everyone, this video is to cover the format of basic commands that you'll be using in Linux. Now, to start off with, there's a lot of commands that are out there in Linux. You just can't possibly learn them all. So what I'm going to do in this course is teach you the set of commands that I've found most useful as a software engineer being out on a customer site. So we're going to look at the ability to move files around, change permissions in files, get our way around about the file system, etc. Because that's the key stuff that you'll need to do if you do go on a customer site for an installation. Okay, let's move over to our session. So I'm going to log in this session as the user Don Wilson. This is another user that I've created that I've already pre-populated with some files and some interesting stuff we can look at. So just to point out, because I missed this in the last video, you'll notice that the command prompt is currently set to $. That basically means I'm a general user. If I log out of that and log in as the super user, you'll see that the command prompt is a hash. That means it's a super user. Hash indicates the super user's logged into this computer. So just be really careful if you do go and you walk up to a terminal and it's the hash prompt. I'd be very careful because it means that you've got full permission to do whatever you want and it will run all commands. So just be very careful of that one. Where possible, I would try and run commands just as a regular user, just to protect some of the stuff from getting potentially damaged. So let's just do that. I'm going to log back out and log in as Don Wilson. Type the wrong password. So it does take a wee while to come back to you. Do it a bit slower this time. Okay, so lots of the commands can actually be used just on their own, just with the command name. So the first one we're going to look at today is, let's have a look at the ls command. So the ls command, and this is in your slides, is the command that lists the contents of the current directory. So remember I said in the last video that when you log in as a user, by default it'll automatically log you in to your directory within the file hierarchy. So let's go back and look at what that actually looks like. So I'm just going to open up the slides with my picture. So remember, this is the file hierarchy, the single root, the set of default folders or directories as they're called in Linux that come as standard, one of them being home, and inside that home directory is a separate directory for each user you create. So we just created the student user in the last video. I've already created Don Wilson. Now inside that directory I've created 3 new directories, week 1, 2 and 3. I've also created 3 files as well. And then inside the week 1 directory, I've created another directory called demo. So this is just to demonstrate that you can create as many directories and files as you want. There is no limit. Best way of thinking about it is a tree structure. So the files are like the leaves of the tree and the directories are like the branches. So this is what we currently, logging in as Don Wilson, we're currently sitting at this level here. So if I list the contents of Don Wilson, where we are, I should see these 3 directories and these 3 files. So let's go back and do that. So to run the command, I need to know the name of it. So the command's called ls, and then I just hit return. And you'll see it comes up with the 3 directories and 3 files. To help you out a wee bit, they've got some syntax highlighting. So directories are coloured blue. And you'll see later on that if a file is executable, then it's coloured green. And there's a few other syntax things we'll pick up along the way. So the ls command is a good example of a command that can just be run on its own. Additionally, every command has got a set of optional features which you can switch on. So these features, each command normally has quite a long list of features, so this is where you'll probably struggle to remember what the features are. However, don't worry too much about that, because with the installation of Linux comes the manual pages. So we get manual pages installed by default. To access the manual pages, we use the command man. Now if I use that on its own, you'll see this time it doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't give me any results. And that's because, sorry, I need to make my screen bigger so you guys can see that. Scroll down. So it's saying, what manual page do you want? I need to actually tell it which command I want to look up, which I know is a bit of an issue, because if you don't know the name of the command, how are you going to be able to look it up? So sometimes Google is your friend. We do know the name of command, so we're going to look up the ls command. So we say, look at the manual pages for ls. And you'll see we end up with this quite frightening looking list of data. So at the top it tells us the name of the command, it gives us a brief description of what it does. So basically it, scrolled off the top here, so scroll up, it lists the contents of the directory, and then underneath that in description you'll see all these letters. These are the features that we can switch on and off. They're like little flags. So to switch a feature on, then you have to use the hyphen. So the hyphen means I want to switch on a particular feature. Okay, or command option. People tend to call them command options. So you use a hyphen, and then after the hyphen, immediately after it, has to be immediately after it, no spaces, you pick the letter or letters of each of the features you want to switch on. So we're going to switch on a feature called long listing. So if I scroll down, and to page down, you just use spacebar. So I'm just going to keep paging down till I get to L. Went too far, so we'll just scroll back up a wee bit. There we go. So I'm going to use right at the top here this -L, which gives me a long listing. What this means is, as well as listing the contents of my directory, it gives me a wee bit more information about each item. So you'll see in a minute, it gives me stuff like the size, the timestamp, who owns it, the permissions on it, etc. So to get out of the man pages, we have to type Q to quit. So I'm going to scroll back down to the command. So I've typed Q and we're back at the prompt. So now I'm going to issue the command again. Before I issue the commands, a wee useful command to use is clear, to clear the screen. Makes things a wee bit tidier. Okay, and it brings back the prompt. Sorry, I've made my screen really big so that hopefully you can see the text, so I'm having to scroll up and down. So I'm going to issue the command again, but this time I'm going to switch on the long listing option. To switch on an option, I need a hyphen. Immediately after the hyphen, I put the letter of the option I want to switch on. If I want to switch on more than one option, I just follow it by the next letters after that I want to switch on. So now if I hit return, you'll see slightly different output. So before, without the option on, it just gave me a straightforward list. Now, with the option on, the top list, and you'll see it gets lots more information. So you can still see the 3 files and the 3 directories. Quick whistle stop tour of what this means, because there's a whole video later on explaining this stuff in more detail. Far left hand side, where we've got hyphens or the letter D, that basically indicates hyphen means it's a file, D means it's a directory. Following that, there is a block of 9 characters. So we've got R, W's, X's, hyphens. That combination explains the permission on that file or directory. And as I said, we've got a full video later on that goes through all of that. After that is the number of hard links. Then we've got the owner of the file, the group they belong to. So the sysadmin can set up groups, which is pretty useful because groups can have different permissions. So we could have a student group and we could have a staff group. Following that is the file size, then the timestamp, and then the file name. So you'll see that this basically matches the picture that I showed you here. So 3 directories, 3 files. Let's jump back to here. So that is the ls command. Another command that we're going to look at this week is calendar. So that's cal, short for calendar. Again, it can be used on its own. When I hit cal, the default behaviour is it will give you the current month for the current year. Now cal, it can also take what we call arguments. So as well as switching flags on to enable different features of commands, some commands require or can take in input data to be used when the command is running. So a good example of where you would really need that is, say you were using the command to copy a file. If I just used the command to copy a file, it wouldn't know where the source was or where the destination was. So that command actually does require 2 arguments. So it requires the source and it requires the destination. Although cal works on its own, cal is also able to take some arguments. Now arguments are just bits of input data. and they are not prefixed with a hyphen. That's what makes them different from the options, the features that we switch on. So do not put a hyphen in front of your arguments. They're just input data. So I'm going to ask the cal command to run, and I want it to run with the year 2018. So literally I just type in the data and you'll see it gives me the full calendar for 2018. Scroll down, there you go. Let's say I just want to look at August in 2019. So there we are, August 2019. So in this case, I've actually given 2 arguments to the command, 2 bits of input data. Let's go back to the ls command. So the ls command, and the reason I'm going back here is because I'm going to show you a command running that uses both options, so features, and also arguments. So ls-l, as we know, gives us a long listing. So there's an option because it's prefixed with a hyphen, so it's switching on the long listing feature. I can also give it an argument. So the argument an ls command will take is the name of what directory you want to list the contents of. So let's jump back to PowerPoint behind here. So right now, as I said, I'm sitting in here. So I want to see these directories 2 and 3 are empty. There's nothing in them, nothing underneath them. But week 1 does have stuff. It's got another directory called demo. So I'd like to see the contents of week 1. So that's fine. I just need to give that argument to the command. So it says, give me a long listing, switch on the long listing feature, and tell me what's inside week 1. So it tells me that there is one directory in there called demo. So that's a really good example of a command running with both options and arguments. Okay, I think that's probably all we'll do for now with the intro to commands. So I'm just going to finish that video, and the next video is, as you can see here, if I just go back to doing my ls-l, you can see that I've got a lot of files created in here. So the next video I'm going to show you how to create files and how to put some information into them.